that to happen, we need to encourage more people to take. And for heaven's sakes, with today's technology, with a lot of things being broadcast on YouTube and other social media platforms, it's actually very easy. Our commissioners' meetings are a great example. Our commissioners' meetings generally take place, I believe it's 9 a.m. every Tuesday morning. And you could just simply open up your phone or any computer device and go to YouTube and listen in on what they're saying. You'll be surprised, you may be surprised if you haven't been watching, at the amount of rubber stamping. It is breathtaking, the amount of money that just constantly flows through. And it goes back again, it's, for me, I have a few representative examples that I throw out for consumption. And one happens to be the county commissioner meeting that I went in and tried to tap the brakes. I tried to encourage our commissioners to hold off on approving a $400,000 office renovation for one of our elected officials. And I got this look that I've now come to associate with, why would we possibly care about $400,000? That's such a small amount of money. Well, in the perspective of some of these people who serve on board positions, they get so um, skewed and thrown off whack by the constant flow of $1.6 million for that, or $5 million for this, or $13 million for this, and a $48 million budget versus a $60 million. They lose sight of the important things, which are the small battles that might be won. And it takes we the people. It takes some people with courage and tenacity to step in and start asking questions and push back on those sorts of things to try to get boards, and that includes our commissioners, it includes our school boards, it includes the county Department of Health and mental health, and you name it. There are many of those that have very good people involved in their administration.
Stable. Okay,
It's
good.
sort of intermittent, Skip. But
yeah, my internet has been I've been beaten up on Verizon a little bit.
It may be the storm.
Well, it may be maybe just other things, but in any case, I'm here, and I think it's going to be stable now. In any case, I've heard a gist of what you were talking about, and I'll add on to that in this way. I'm assuming you mentioned our sponsors this morning already.
I have not gotten to the sponsors. Let's focus on them.
All right. So
yeah, so I'll throw those in there, and then you go on with the construction you were telling me about.
Yep.
We would like to recognize the Chardon VFW, Middlefield VFW, the Chardon American Legion, the Newberry American Legion, and Red EFT. Skip, do you have that phone number for Red EFT for people to call up and get not just somebody to come and trim their trees, but a real arborist? Call Red EFT at
440-850-4968. And you can email him at arborist1024@gmail.com. He and I just talked. I've got a tree that's leaning over towards my house. He's going to come over and take a look at that and make sure it's not going to fall over. We just had a huge wind, and it made me a little bit nervous because you never know. There's limbs and trees down all over my neighborhood. And so he's going to come out and take a look at that. He can trim up some of the dead limbs out of your tree so you don't have so many limbs laying around in your yard. He's truly an arborist.
Skip, so what is the gentleman's name who runs Red EFT?
It's Andrew. Yep. And he Blasky, and he will he's a good guy, lives in Chesterland here, or actually I think Newberry, but knows a lot about plants, generally speaking, has a fantastic garden, but trees are his thing, and also shrubs and bushes. He can trim those, take care of those. And so he's a real good guy, got a good team of people around him. But that said, back on to the whole responsible government and stinking thinking. Years ago when I was a county commissioner, I brought up the idea of modernizing the county offices. it happened to some degree, but not in the way it would have happened had I been there. Obviously, we have a new county building over on Ravenwood Drive, centralized in the center of the county, and I wouldn't have disagreed with that. That was one of two options I was pondering at the time, but my concept was to leverage the building cost and everything. And I had a cost model. I still have the cost model, the original cost model, and I wanted to do one main campus because you get huge leverage construction wise out of building one, and a brand new building is far more effective, far more efficient, far more cost effective than remodeling an 1890s courthouse and then having to remodel other buildings and everything. So we could have built a main campus in Chardon, in the county seat, as required by law, for probably less money than what we're spending right now on the new county building over on UH Drive, um, and uh, and also the goofy courthouse construction. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, that courthouse um, reconstruction project is a terrible idea. It looks bad. It makes the downtown area look bad. And by the way, it steals from future generations in Chardon the ability to be a city. Right now, it's government offices. Those buildings are all 1890s buildings or 1800s, 1900s buildings, and they are need a lot of modernization. That modernization could have been paid for by private dollars, by entrepreneurs who wanted to create an actual city, have an actual downtown area with, 7 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night kinds of businesses that would have revitalized the entire Chardon area.
Hey,
Instead,
Skip, I need to step in.
yep, I
Unfortunately,
see
we're
the break
coming up
coming
on a
up.
break.
Yep.
Yep, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to pick up the conversation around stinking thinking on Voice of Geauga.
Mics are off. Mics are off.
All right, so um, all right, good. So I've got a couple things pulled up. When we come back, I'm going to take another try at a trivia question to give away the Village Viking Fest gift basket. Give everybody a fair shot at winning that. See if before the end of today's program we have an answer on social media
You know,
or on phone call.
I'm gonna make a suggestion because this is a real opportunity. First of all, we need to promote the folks that donated that to us in a big way. And so maybe we need to come up with more than just a question or a trivia question in the show. Maybe put something on the website where we have a real contest and it promotes this organization. We can put their picture online and promote what they're doing because they've got an event coming up, right?
Well, yeah, I've already been doing that. So that's on
Facebook.
the Facebook page. So there are pictures of the basket, and there's all kinds of information about their event, when it starts, and there's actually a great conversation. So if you are following, if you're hearing us on Rumble or YouTube, find Voice of Geauga on Facebook as well. There's a lively conversation that takes place there. We've had two big pockets of very involved, very lively conversation taking place on the Facebook Voice of Geauga. One is around Village Viking Fest, and the other pertains to candidate Nikki Frenchko. Nikki Frenchko and her following is very, very active. Same thing with Village Viking Fest. I find that they've been very engaged in conversation there.
I'd like to put something. I'm going to go scrape some stuff off of the Facebook page, put it on the website. We now have the video for the candidates night. That was the other night.
I saw that.
And it is on the website. It's a good video. And we need to talk about that too today, part of Stinking Thinking. We'll wrap up this conversation on the county buildings and everything. But that.
Yeah, one of the things. Oh, I'd actually had a thought to see if I could pull
30
up
seconds. 30 seconds.
the most recent numbers, but some of the things that people were saying as candidates on the candidates night was just mind-boggling. Like people talking about how great they are, that just they've been elected for 4 years and rarely show up to anything. They've been absent for like 4 years
10
now.
seconds, 10 seconds.
Welcome back to Voice of Geauga with Skip Claypool, myself, Jonathan Broadbent, and we're talking about stinking thinking. I have come up with another trivia question because we are going to give away that beautiful Village Viking Fest gift basket, which includes tickets. Their event kicks off on May 1st, and the kind folks over at Village Viking Fest have created, if you want to see pictures of this beautiful gift basket, go to the Facebook Voice of Geauga page. You're going to find beautiful pictures and a lot of lively conversation about what Village Viking Fest is. Here's my question for you, Geauga. On what date was Geauga County established? It was established by the General Assembly and created the county took effect from legislation passed on what date? So if you give me that date, either call in 440-946-9468 or post your answer on social media. You will be the winner of that beautiful gift basket. It includes all kinds of stuff. Skip was asking for us to provide some detail about Village Viking Fest. Go to our Facebook page, Voice of Geauga, and you're going to find all sorts of posts from the fine folks over at Village Viking Fest talking about their event, what it is. You can find great detail and click through their link to their page and find out more about Village Viking Fest. Talking about stinking thinking, I do like to include comments from our audience. Gardens of CH posts, what about the upcoming massive library complex? I've mentioned this before, and I believe it to be true. This is actually a comment from Brian Massey, who is a co-host with me on Ohio Political News. According to Brian Massey, who has spent a lot of time investigating Ohio's budget, he informs us that library systems in Ohio have a very unique position among all the different things that we fund with our taxpayer dollars. Libraries, according to Brian's statement, are funded by a percentage of the total budget. So in other words, they don't get X number of dollars. They don't get and it's not adjusted like most divisions of government or people that receive funding from our taxpayer dollars might have, let's say, $100 million budget, and it goes up by 2% every year or something. For libraries, apparently, whatever the budget is, we come up with $100 billion. Libraries get a percentage of that, so it's incentivized. The library system is rewarded the larger our budget gets. They get more money no matter what as our budget grows. So over the past 5 years, as our budget has ballooned in the state of Ohio by 35-40%, that means just huge amounts of additional money flowing into libraries. And my view is that they have to get creative in trying to find ways of spending it all. They have so much of our taxpayer dollars. That's stinking thinking in my book, especially as we struggle with library systems, trying to figure out what it is that they're actually putting in the children's sections. That's a common thread and a common issue. I'm not pointing fingers specifically, but I do see a lot of posts about libraries, including one just recently. They had to dismiss somebody who was refusing to move content out of the children's sections that included pornographic material. That was not in Geauga County, but these issues are prevalent throughout libraries. So as the number of people that go to libraries dwindles, and all the questions swirl around what's actually happening inside of libraries and what people and children can gain access to, this massive funding is a big question mark, especially as people are struggling financially.
So
So
let me key
maybe
off on
stinking
that.
thinking. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
let
Skip.
me key off on that. First of all, I want to wrap up the stream of thought that I had relative to the buildings downtown Chardon. So as I was
Yep.
saying before we went into the break, there was a real opportunity for us to let private enterprise create a real downtown area in Chardon. The reason that didn't happen was our cabal that we have, and I've called them out in the last paper, the machine that we have, the political machine, fought the commissioners. The city of Chardon sued, and it didn't have a right to do that. The commissioners, by statute, have a right to decide where and how county buildings are created. That nobody can interfere with that. City of Chardon couldn't have sued. If I was a commissioner, I'd tell them to pound salt, and we'd have built the campus because the commissioners have the authority under Ohio law to do that. But the commissioners fought that and ultimately were bullied by the prosecutor and the treasurer and the auditor and others, the city of Chardon. And finally, they relented and came up with this compromise plan. And ultimately, the plan, and I can get more details or provide more details on this, didn't even unfold as they had agreed to in the compromise. And so that was to modify this 1890s building, which I think is ugly, ugly, ugly. And think about it. Government buildings downtown, government workers come in. They go to work from 8 to 4 or 8 to 4:30, 5 o'clock, and then they go home. And the downtown area is dead at that point in time. They roll up the sidewalks when the government employees go home. So you really have no opportunity to really create this and develop this downtown area that's vibrant and vital and all that kind of stuff. And they could have had a duplicity or a duplicate funding source had they built a campus off that, because they'd have still been in Chardon. They'd have still gone downtown Chardon for dinners, the government employees and so forth. And yet you would have had private enterprise building restaurants and, wineries or whatever else in the downtown area. It would have been a much better, but the city leaders and the goofballs that are making government decisions decided not to do it that way. So what was the impact of that? Now they're having conversations about how our tax dollars can be used to modernize these old 1890s buildings. And it's going to be extremely costly to do that. And it's our tax dollars that are going to do it. And so I'm just aggravated by that. I mean, it is where it is at this point in time. But we need to be watching that closely and looking over their shoulder, because, as you had said, Jonathan, the government has no incentive to be effective as it spends its dollars. Somebody should make a request, and maybe Voice of Geauga will make this request, for all of the changes beyond the original contract for building the courthouse or the original county building. Government does not manage construction projects well, and there's oftentimes cost overruns and then outside requests that add on cost, and the cost ends up ballooning. So government does not spend money effectively or well. Back to the library for a second. The library had a perfectly good headquarters building over by on Ravenwood Drive, over by the new county offices. Perfectly good. There's nothing wrong with it. It sufficed. It met the need. Why they decided that they're going to go off now and spend, I've heard numbers like $15 million to build a new headquarters or centralized. It's not a library; it's just a headquarters for the libraries in Geauga County. Why the board of directors, and it's led by a board, decided to sell that building for $5 million to the county. So now the county is using our tax dollars to buy a building that's not necessary to be rebuilt, in my opinion. And now the library is going to go out. So this is the kind of stinking thinking. People should be upset about this. We should go to the county commissioners and to the library board meetings and raise holy Cain. I want to see statistics on the Bainbridge Library or the libraries. And actually, West G is probably one of the better libraries. It's an older library. We didn't rebuild it or remodel it or whatever. But even the West G Library, I want to see statistics and see how much it costs to build that facility, the one in Bainbridge, how much it costs to run that facility, and then what the utilization is. How many people come through the doors on a daily basis? What's the cost per person on a weekly, daily, monthly basis to use the library?
That's similar to the conversation we have around buses and public transportation. Skip, there's a question in the Rebel chat you may know the answer to. Sharon CG asks, I have always heard that the county owns 30 acres on 44 next to Best. The board bought it when Samide was commissioner, supposedly. Is that true? And if so, why didn't they build there?
That was my plan. Yes, there's 35 acres. It's across from Cleats on 44, and my plan would have been to build a modern uh, legal campus or court campus right there that would have included the clerk of courts and the all the court systems and the prosecutor and the auditor and all those things required to be in the county seat. And by the way, you can always move the county seat if we wanted it in Aquila or down by where it currently is. We just move the county seat over there. And so, but that said, I mean, people just don't have clear-headed thinking. But to Sharon's point, yes, right across from Cleats is 35 acres, and we could have built a campus there. We could have torn down the existing where 470 Center Street and probably put a campus over there, which is again on 44, right across from Home Depot. But the goofy thinking was, let's build this ugly building in downtown Chardon, destroy the look.
I need to
Go ahead.
interrupt. A message is coming in. Apparently, we're having some issues with the timer on our show. We are going to we're going to take a break right now. Remember, you can join the conversation at 440-946-9468. Voice of Geauga will come back on the other side of this break.
Mics are off. Mics are off.
All right. So it seems we are having some issues. We're going to have to keep an eye on the notes here. The timer, the countdown timer isn't working. I'm actually, while you were talking, Skip, I was going to look up the posts that were being exchanged this morning, as a matter of fact, on school construction. And I think it factors in. It's the same thing. And I think once it's one of those things, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Construction and reconstruction and consolidation and expansion and new paving and new parking lots and new lighting and new infrastructure, new roof, and just all that, the new tech and new wiring, they are an area that unfortunately most people don't have a solid understanding of construction and what it entails. And because it seems sort of mysterious to most people, whatever the price tag is, it seems like the public is like, oh, okay, sure. Okay, the building costs $200 million. All right. Well, anybody that has had exposure to construction and has a general feel for construction costs and material costs, I can frequently step in and really, some of the numbers are head scratching. And a lot of times you get in and you're like, oh, all right, well, I guess we have to bite the bullet on another $200 million building. And then a few years later, they've been working on it, and unfortunately there were cost overruns, and it's really ended up being $300 million. And then a few years later, you realize somebody goofed on the blueprints, and we forgot to include this thing, so we need to expand this room and do the roof differently, and that's only going to be $70 million. Before you know it, the thing that you're like, wait, why do we need to spend $200 million? About 5 or 7 years later, like why did we end up spending $650 million on this building? And meanwhile, there are lots of people that know construction are like, your total cost for that is actually probably about an $800,000 expense. So
Hey,
where does all the extra money go?
hey, Jonathan, we actually had, I'm watching all the channels from a chat standpoint. And
Yeah.
actually, Melody on Facebook um, said she thinks the building looks beautiful. So I'd like to do a poll of all of our listeners. When we get back, let's do a poll and have everybody send us an email or get into the chat rooms and tell us. Let's do a poll and find out how many people think it's ugly versus good looking. And everybody's entitled to opinion. Some people might think it looks great, but we've got a beautiful old courthouse there that was completely wrecked. We wrapped this square box around the 1890s courthouse, and so anyway, my opinion is I think it looks like goofy. But we could have had a beautiful main campus with parking all the way around it. Part of the problem with the courthouse downtown now is there's no parking. So you got to go to court downtown. Where are you going to park? You block up the
Yeah.
streets. You know, the people that want to go to Beans Coffee or to any of
30
the restaurants
seconds, 30
downtown can't
seconds.
get there because there's no parking. And so, not only I appreciate the comment, I appreciate anybody who chimes in, and it'll be interesting because I know sometimes I'm wrong, but we'll see how many people think that courthouse is good looking versus ugly.
Good idea. We'll create a poll.
10 seconds, 10 seconds.
Welcome back to Voice of Geauga with Skip Claypool and myself, Jonathan Broadbent. We are on WINT Radio. That is 101.5 FM and 1330 AM. Remember, if you have any problems picking up our show, or if you travel outside of the region, you don't want to miss an episode. You might miss some action-packed, exciting, pertinent, important information.
So,
You
hey,
can
Jonathan, let me
stream.
let me jump
You
in. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting. Let me jump in here because I'm seeing some comments coming through. We had an individual on Facebook. For the radio listeners out there, you don't have the opportunity to engage us through chat like some of our chat users. But if you're listening to this program, you can call us at 440-946-9468. Melody on Facebook said she thinks that the building in downtown Chardon, the new boxy, blocky, not that I'm biased, looking building around the 1890s courthouse is beautiful. And so I want to do a poll, and I'm seeing some comments coming in on Rumble right now. And so far, there's 3 uglies that popped up. But if you're driving your car, when you get a chance, go to Facebook. You're going to see this program on Facebook. It'll show up today after the program. And comment. Comment on this Facebook program. I want to do a poll. How many people think that the building is beautiful? And how many people think that goofy, sorry, I'm putting my thumb on the scale. Melanie, I apologize to you. I don't mean to put my thumb on the scale. That building is beautiful or it's ugly. So go out there to Facebook. I'm hoping to get 1,000 votes. We'll do a quick poll for people in Chardon. And if you're from Lake County and you want to take part in this, drive over to Chardon, take a look at that building, stop into Beans Coffee and get some coffee. I'll give them free advertising. And give us participate in the poll. Tell us whether you think that courthouse was a good idea, bad idea, ugly, whatever your comments happen to be. You can say Skip is dumb and he doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't really care. You can comment anything you want to. Go to Facebook, provide us a comment. Melanie, I appreciate you and your and weighing in because we like all comments. I don't care whether they're good, bad, whatever. I like to stimulate a conversation, and I think we've done that this morning. So, anyway, sorry for interrupting you, Jonathan, but I thought it was important that we recognize. So far, I've got 3 uglies and 1 good looking, and all
Sorry,
is
I was going. Yeah, I was planning on mentioning the same thing. A poll, I think, is in order. We've got somebody who likes the appearance of the
yeah.
courthouse. So you heard it here on the radio live. Skip is preparing to create a poll, and he'll post a poll on the Facebook Voice of Geauga page. If you have any difficulty picking up this radio broadcast, you can live stream the audio only at either wintradio.com or voiceofgeauga.com. Either of those will allow you to stream the radio portion if you want to join the podcast. The podcast gives you behind the curtains glimpse into what takes place during the breaks. Find Voice of Geauga streaming video and audio of this program Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. That's Voice of Geauga. So a poll, I think, is a good idea. One of the things that factors in to the use it or lose it mentality, Skip, is a few factors that people should be aware of. Often you get local government that goes for handouts to state government. So state government has a big pool of money and they may issue grant dollars saying, we'll help fund your construction project or whatever it is. But you have to jump through some hoops in order to get it. So the grant will have strings attached to it. They always do. Sometimes we end up going for federal dollars. Remember, all of it is just tax dollars. Government has no money. The government never has any money. All they can do is allocate the spending of our tax dollars. So when there are strings attached, we should be paying attention to those strings. And it's entirely possible that in the construction of the courthouse, we had somebody stepped in and tried to dictate what was happening. We have lawsuits that Skip alluded to that tried to force the courthouse to be rebuilt in the way that it looks now in downtown Chardon Square. But also, we have to have a willingness on the part of our elected officials to challenge and ask questions and push for what is the best for the community. And sometimes that takes having a good, solid spine and standing up and saying no to waste, fraud, and abuse, and to strings attached to grant dollars and those sorts of things. That, I think, is often lacking among our elected representatives. We have people in office who seem peevish and squeamish and won't stand up and ask the hard questions or push and advocate. So, and there are examples all over the place, but the way that we get to the bottom of these sorts of issues is all of us coming together, and that's why Voice of Geauga formed. That's what I wanted to get to. I mentioned something a few minutes ago that I want to come back to, and that is the presentations that were given during the Meet the Candidates night. So on Monday evening, the county GOP hosted a Meet the Candidates night. And several people online and several people posting, responding to the video that Skip has posted on Voice of Geauga, noticed that there are a group of people who are conspicuously absent. There are a lot of people that didn't show up. Many did. We should all be very thankful that they did. Came in and gave presentations about why they should be elected to different various positions. Christina Rogner came in and spoke. We had a number of people. We had Robert Sprague came in. There was a representative from Marcel Sturbich's camp, and people presented and pitched their plea on why to be elected. But Skip, some of the things that I heard, it was breathtaking. Some of the people that I got up that I couldn't believe. I had to pick my jaw up off the floor. There are some people that got up and spoke glowingly about themselves, how great they are, and they're such a strong advocate for Republican and conservative values. One in particular comes to mind. I think he maybe has shown up two or three times over the last 4 years. It's just been absent. It's somebody that got elected and for about 4 years has just been nowhere to be seen. Now the election's coming up again, and he showed up on Monday night, talked about how great he is. Um, those are the kinds of things that we need to have smart people, competent people, willing to call them out and call the balls and strikes. And again, I keep going back to my frustration. A big part of the reason that I'm here on Voice of Geauga. Why aren't our papers doing that? Why aren't the local newspapers calling out? They seem to call out anyone who challenges or questions the rubber stamping of spending tax dollars. So anybody that points and cries foul at spending huge amounts of money, they might go after them. But why not dig into the politicians, the people filling the boards, and help the public to gain a better understanding of the people we elect to office and the activities and the votes that they take after?
Well, you can actually see where people's hearts are. I mean, it's obvious that there's a group of people that didn't care about the candidates night the other night. They didn't care about the people that showed up, the 150 to 200 people that showed up in that GOP. It was a GOP event. I mean, the head of the Democratic
Yeah, the
Party
room was
was there, for
packed.
God's sake. And so there are people who don't care about that group of people. They don't care that you hear from them. They think that your vote's a given for them, and or they just don't care, and or they feel at risk because they're afraid if they come there they're going to say something that could be held against them. So they're going to choose to go to the League of Women Voters event. The League of Women Voters, who I believe, in my opinion, if you look at their website, they claim to be nonpartisan. They're anything but nonpartisan. If you go to their, and I used to participate in their events, and I'm in some ways sorry that I did, because you enable them. They screen questions. They don't allow hard questions. They don't allow true debate and discussion. At the GOP event the other night, there was an opportunity for you to really mix it up if you wanted to with your opponents. It didn't really happen, but there were people, Joe DeBoth was one, that actually brought out real media. If I'm voting for somebody, I want to know the difference. I want to know why I vote for somebody. I want to know what it is that somebody in office is doing that they shouldn't be doing, and the opponents, and this is the opportunity for opponent candidates to call that kind of stuff out. That's what I expect as a voter. I want to know why it is that I should vote for somebody. And the League of Women Voters prevents that conversation. They want it all to be soft and feely, and you can just talk about yourself and what your strengths are. No, there are people in office that are abusing their power, that are being irresponsible with tax dollars, that are representing Cleveland and Cuyahoga County and not Geauga County. Somebody just voted $166 million interchange in Brook Park for the Brown Stadium, which takes Geauga County tax dollars into Cleveland. I'm sorry for being so emotional, but that stinking thinking hurts the citizens of Geauga County. And people need to know that. If you're in Geauga County, wake up, pay attention, and understand actions are more meaningful than words. And when you see citizens' comments being limited or restricted within a county commissioner meeting, or you see offices not being transparent or violating the Sunshine Law, that is misbehavior in the public, and we need to correct that. The only way we can correct that is to elect new people into those offices, or you can
You're
file a
right.
lawsuit. And so I'm sorry, I get
Coming up on
emotional and
break.
passionate about this. So
Yeah, good, good. That's why we're here, because we care. And we have a lot of people that care on social media as well. Don't forget to join us on Rumble. The Rumble chat is very active. I'm going to see if I can include some of those comments when we come back with more Voice of Geauga on the other side of this break.
Mics are off. Mics are off.
Yeah, so I see some comments here. A lot of great comments. I'm looking. You know what? I wasn't seeing the Facebook chat because I have this Facebook post up on Voice of Geauga that I made yesterday. I was going to reference it. This well, if you're listening on social media, if you're listening to the podcast, go to the Voice of Geauga Facebook page. I made a post. I just tagged it with my own name. It's notes from Jonathan Broadbent. There's a great article on the politics of self-deception from Michael Smith. It's another Michael Smith article. He's a great author. I really like his writing style. That one it really ties back in with the previous days, Voice of Geauga episode. But so Skipper, I'm going to go in. I'll hop in and keep an eye on the posts here as well.
yeah, there's some
I'm
good
not seeing an
Facebook
answer to the
posts.
trivia question yet.
I'm seeing some good posts are in the chat window on Facebook. I see nothing on YouTube. I don't think anybody watches YouTube, but Facebook is there's some good comments out there, and
Oh, did I say YouTube? I meant to say Facebook.
yeah,
So I'm not seeing. Let's see. Voice of Geauga. Why is this not? I'm not seeing any
30
comments.
seconds. 30 seconds.
They're not showing up for me yet. So it may just be a little bit of a delay or something because I just opened up the chat. So if Skip, if you see an answer to that trivia question, let me know. We want to make sure to give away that gift basket to a good
and
home.
there was a number of responses.
To the trivia question?
Yes, your trivia question that was date related, right?
Yeah.
And so
10 seconds.
1806, March 1st, 1806. Diana commented on that.
Welcome back to Voice of Geauga with Skip Claypool and myself, Jonathan Broadbent. And I understand that during the break we've discovered that we have a winner of the gift basket, Diana. So, Diana, we are going to get your information and make sure that you enjoy a terrific day. at the Village Viking Fest. We will make arrangements with the organizers and hosts of Village Viking Fest to get that beautiful gift basket into your hands. So Diana will communicate with you directly. Skip, if you would be so kind, just grab a screen capture or the handle of that person. So that was fun. We have to do a lot more of that. If then that's a hint. If you have a small business in the area, put something together and let us work with you to promote your business.
And she's on
Voice of
Facebook,
Geauga.
by the way. That's so that chat will stay. I think the Facebook chats are persistent,
Oh,
and
good.
so
Yeah. So it's now marked indelibly for the for future. So Diana, congratulations. Yeah. So Skip, just sort of chiming in on your observations. I had the same observation. I'd heard great things from people who had occasion to see and hear Joe DeBoth speak publicly. And I'm going to take us in a little bit of a different direction, and it pertains to an area of work that I discovered decades ago, and a comment that somebody made that was very encouraging to me. Somebody made the comment that I have a combination of technical skill and technical capability, but also good communication skills. And sometimes those can be difficult. And working where I work, I end up working with a lot of people who are very highly technical, um, institutional audit and those kinds of things in accounting firms. Sometimes those people can be difficult to communicate with. So finding that good balance of really intelligent and capable, but also a good communicator is wonderful to find. I personally, to this day, I view it as one of the best compliments I've gotten in my career. Joe DeBoth, in his presentation on Monday night, struck me that way. It was somebody he had printed out and took foam core charts, just sort of highlighting and showing where Geauga was financially and where we're headed, and we're headed into the red, and that means trouble. But his ability to step up in front of a very large crowd. It was standing room only. Actually, 5 times people had to leave the room to go and find more chairs to bring in to give chairs to people, and people were still standing around the backs and sides. It was standing room only. But Joe DeBoth did a really good job, in my opinion, getting up and touching the important high notes for the audience on why we need somebody with the tenacity in the auditor position to actually scrutinize the numbers, to look deep into what's happening in Geauga County rather than play this role of rubber stamper. That has been a frustration that I've had for a long time now with our current auditor and some of our commissioners. And it goes back to that comment I made earlier about my interaction with Commissioner Carolyn Brakey about the $400,000 office renovation. It was something along the lines of an eye roll in this exasperated tone. Like, why would she bother dealing with me and my questions about a $400,000 office?
you're well meaning. You're well meaning, Jonathan.
Oh, that must be what it is. I'm well meaning. Yeah, you know what? I'm in a well meaning as many meetings as I possibly can. Because if we don't rein it in and we have runaway government, it just gets worse and worse and worse. One other thing, in my book, this relates. As I've looked into this whole notion of regional government, regionalism, and it's the steady drumbeat out of Cleveland. Cleveland thinks that they can run Geauga County better than we can here in Geauga County. And uh, first of all, no, because I look at what's happened in Cleveland and they've failed in so many levels. It's
Miserably,
ridiculous.
miserably.
They've failed miserably. And no, we don't want Cleveland to try and run things on behalf of Geauga County and lose our local representative government. But there's an example that I've stumbled onto as I look at how regionalism is pitched in papers like the Cleveland Plain Dealer and Cleveland.com and all that stuff, and how it is being encapsulated, how it's being presented to the public. There's history in the San Francisco Bay Area. Now, hear me out on this. San Francisco Bay Area, turns out, used to be nearly 100 different small communities that were all locally orchestrated, that were locally run. They had their local sort of flavor and feel, and they managed their own local ordinances, who can build and what types of building they can do, etc. So they controlled things locally. And if people were upset about something and they didn't want something, like let's say a marijuana distribution place or something, they had the ability to go in locally and advocate and pitch, and they would stop that. The thing, whatever it was, they could control their community at a local level. Eventually, after several tries, regionalism came in like cancer and spread in San Francisco Bay Area. And now virtually everything, all of it, land and water use, mineral rights, transportation, roads and bridges, and everything, business ordinances, virtually everything is now regional. And now look, some years later, at what has happened in San Francisco Bay Area. It has been just destroyed. It's been decimated, and a handful of people have gotten uber rich out of it. It is my concerted opinion that that's what's planned for Northeast Ohio. That's Lake County, Geauga County, Lorain County, Medina County, and Cuyahoga County. That is a regional effort to try and create a regional government under the auspices of climate action plan, and we should all be aware and fighting it as hard as we can, because Geauga can and is on the trajectory, in my opinion, to become the next San Francisco Bay, where we don't have any local control. Everything is run by the nitwits on an unelected board of bureaucrats in downtown Cleveland.
Yeah, let's be clear. We have our own nitwits. We don't need nitwits out of Cleveland running our county, right? Everybody
Right.
knows who the nitwits are here in Geauga County, and it's the cabal downtown Chardon. But let me bring something up before the end of the program, because we're going to be coming up on the end of the program. Everybody's going to be getting a Voice of Geauga newspaper in your mailbox coming this weekend. And so watch out for it, pay attention to it, and do me a favor. Those people who advertise in that paper are businesses that need your business. They supported us, Voice of Geauga, for this radio program to stay on, for the newspaper to remain a paper and continue and to grow, because we've got plans for other activity to enhance communications to people in Geauga County, because there's so much going on you don't know about, and we're going to be revealing it. But we need to support those who support us, and we need you to support us. We need you to support this program. So if you believe in this program, I'm going to put together a Give, Send, Go page for you to contribute to help support this program. But one organization, Bob Voss was going to be on today, the Geauga West Rotary is having a fundraiser coming up, and you can type in Geauga West Rotary, and you'll see a page pop up. There's a QR code there. Buy a ticket. It's a rodeo roundup. It's going to be at the Burton Century Village Museum. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's $80 per person on May 2nd. So I want to advertise that, because the Geauga West Rotary, number one, I'm a member of that, but they do really good things with kids and local organizations. We support the Next Step program, which helps young adults to move on in their lives. So they do really, really good things. They need your support. And I was hoping Bob would get on there and talk about that. He's the president. He'll be on sometime, probably next week now. But
We'll reschedule them for next week.
Yep.
We're coming up, unfortunately, on the end of the show.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but
that's unfortunate. There's so much more that we could cover,
and we've got Frank Kavanaugh coming on tomorrow, right?
Yep, tomorrow. Set your clock tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Frank Kavanaugh is going to be coming back on Voice of Geauga to join us. In the meantime, everyone enjoy a great Thursday. Thanks for tuning in.